Hey everyone, this is the VG247 team. My name is Dorrani, and Alex and Tom are of course here. Boys, how are you? How's it going?
Yeah, good. Excellent, thanks.
Good. Busy week. Busy, but good.
Busy week. I haven't even seen what's been going on this week, so I'm going to rely heavily on you guys' input. But firstly, we've got a competition running for Zelda. I'm going to throw it to Alex. Alex, tell us about this competition.
Yeah, well, this week's been all about Zelda for me anyway. But just so you know, if you're watching this, listening to this, whatever, we are running a competition for the next week where we're working with Nintendo UK. So this is a UK competition. Sorry, Americans, we will try to do something for you next time. But yeah, it's a UK competition, and basically, we just want to know your favourite memories of the Zelda series. Whether that is something in-game that you have a really fond memory of, or something that sort of happened to you in your real life that's Zelda-related, anything like that. And we did a similar one for Mario. It's for the 35th anniversary. You can go to the VG247 Twitter, at VG247 on Twitter. There's a tweet, and we're using the hashtag Zelda Memories hashtag. So you reply to that tweet, use that hashtag, and tell us your favourite Zelda memories, and a winner will be picked. You do it between now and next Friday, so now and the next podcast, or not a podcast. On the following Monday, so obviously not this Monday coming, but the one after that, I will pick a winner at random and notify them. And and the prize package is you get a Nintendo Switch. Ooh. You get the steelbook copy of Skyward Sword HD, which has just come out today. You get the amiibo, the Skyward Sword amiibo, which I've just paid £25 for, so I think that's pretty good going. And you get a bunch of other Zelda goodies as well. There's like an action figure of Link that's quite a rare one. There's a poster, a T-shirt, a key ring. So it's really just a pretty sweet Zelda goodie bag care package. So yeah, head and enter that if you want, if you care.
Definitely. I'll link the tweet in the description so everyone has fast access. I'll put the hashtag on the screen as well so everyone can see. No, that is great. What's your memory, if you had one, Alex, of Zelda?
Well, actually, there's a article on the site which sort of announces the competition where me and James Billcliffe, the guides editor, talk about our Zelda memories. And I was talking about, there was two that came to mind for me, but I was just thinking about unique ones that are very unique to me personally. The first one is, I got a copy of Link to the Past that was pre-owned, secondhand, and when I put it into my Super Nintendo, there was a save file on it, and the previous owner had obviously completed the whole game, so it was like this complete save file. And I was very young then, so I'd get stuck on a game like Link to the Past. I'd get stuck in the dungeon, stuff like that. And so I just have a really fun memory of this completed save file. Of course, I started my own save file and played through as much of the game as I could. But in those days when I was young, I experienced a lot of Link to the Past's world through exploring this completed save file, which is interesting. And then the other thing is, I spent a lot of time in the late 90s, early noughties on dial-up internet, reading Zelda fan sites, reading Zelda theories about if you could get the Triforce and Ocarina of Time and if there was a secret Temple of Light and all that sort of stuff. And genuinely, I feel like those experiences were really formative to me as a writer, as someone who's into games. So, yeah, Zelda, especially Ocarina, even though it isn't my favourite one, means quite a lot to me in that sense. So, yeah, that's mine.
So your first experience with Zelda was cheating, basically. You had all the cheats.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, I had all because he had, access to the Dark World, access to the whole, which, I'd got that far. I'd got access to the Dark World, but he had access to the whole map because he had all the various abilities and skills and upgrades. He had the highest level of sword and all that sort of stuff. So I just have a fond memory of, again, something you could never experience now, right? Buying a pre-owned game and discovering someone else's save when you plug it in.
That can't happen now. You're gonna have to go through some elaborate data mining and editing of code to get to the end of a game now. Tom, how about yourself? Do you have any Zelda memories?
Well, I'm not sure my memory is going to win this competition, sadly. Mine are more that I get bored of Zelda games after about 10 hours and stop playing. I was telling Alex, like, I I was well excited for Ocarina of Time because it was like if you were like into games, then it was hard not to get caught up in the hype. It was like I kind of remember that, and I remember like Final Fantasy VII. They both had huge hype. They're like the two games I remember as that from that era, sort of huge excitement. And I got the pre-order. I got the gold cartridge, and I was like, "Oh, this is going to be great." And I did like it a lot on the N64, and then I just kind of got bored and stopped. And then it's one of those games where I like. You're meant to have finished it, right? It's like it's one of those great games that you, particularly in this job, everyone expects you to have played Ocarina of Time. I saw the end of it around a mate's house. He just was playing it, and I just watched him do the end. And I was like, "Oh, that's enough for me. I've seen the end now."
That's enough.
But that's it. That Zelda games, because I was never a Nintendo kid, I never got into Zelda until N64, and I never quite. I think I was missing something because I didn't grow up as from a very young age playing all these like the SNES game, the Game Boy game and stuff. So I think I missed out a bit there. But yeah, like I like Zelda to a degree, but I don't think my memories are the ones that are going to be like, yeah, what a great memory when you stop playing A Link Between Worlds after 10 hours, and when you forgot that you even had the game on the 3DS and you found it in your drawer 2 years later unopened. But yeah, that's Zelda for me.
That's your Zelda memory. Which Zelda was that you got 10 hours into? Which one?
All of them. Apart from Breath of the Wild, I've done a lot more. But it feels.
Is that the largest game though, right?
I don't know, but yeah, it feels like the largest one because there's so much to do.
I mean, yeah,
it is a lot. Back in those days, was 10 hours quite long for like a Zelda game? Would you say, or just games in general? 10 hours is that feels like it's quite long.
As action games go, not RPGs. Although some people would make a case that Zelda is a very, very light RPG. As action games go, which is what Zelda primarily is, an action adventure game. Yeah, that was long because, you wouldn't. A Contra was like, a fifth of the length of a Zelda or something like that. So, yeah, they were always quite long.
I mean, a lot of games back then, Dorrani, you won't remember. It's like they were like incredibly hard often, but actually very short. Like you could get through most games in a couple of hours if you knew what you were doing. Like Sonic and stuff. Like you just had to play through in one sitting, and then it was all about knowing what to do to get through it, rather than actually spending weeks working through. I remember leaving the Mega Drive on overnight and stuff to carry on the next day and hope. This is at my cousin's house. Hope his mum wasn't going to turn it off when we were asleep and stuff. But yeah, that happened quite a few times back then. That was a nightmare for kids of the 80s and early 90s. Is parents turning off games consoles because there was no save file. Yeah. But yeah, you don't use this. This is another blast from the near 40-year-old man's past for you.
I think the viewers and listeners will be happy with these little history lessons, these bites of gaming history through insulting my youthfulness. It's a reoccurring theme now.
It's not an insult. It's just that I'm pleased for you that you are still young.
Thanks. Thanks, I guess. I don't really have a Zelda memory, to be honest. The first Zelda I ever got into properly.
Smash. It was Smash, wasn't it?
It wasn't.
It wasn't.
Link from Smash Bros. No. Breath of the Wild was the first Zelda I actually gave a chance, and I was so surprised at the depth of this game. I think I mentioned it already about how there's still people coming up with here's 25 more things you still don't know about Breath of the Wild. That stuff blows my mind. And as I said, the attention to detail that people are still figuring out and getting to enjoy. If you replay it, you're replaying something which feels completely different. There's so many, I never knew that moments that seem to come out of Zelda Breath of the Wild. The earliest memories I have of Zelda, though, as a whole, was of my pals telling me how amazing it was. It's always through people, oh my god, you haven't played Zelda? That's my memory of Zelda, from before Breath of the Wild. You haven't played Zelda? Just people just telling me that all the time. But yeah, I'm now a fan. I will be picking up Skyward Sword today. I do want to give it a go. You said you're quite impressed with it. Alex says, reawoken something within you.
I am, and I'm not, in the sense that I've been on the record a lot saying that I really do not like Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild, Skyward Sword. Really do not like. I've been on the record in the past saying I really do not like Skyward Sword. It's always been a bit of a, as we say in the UK, a bit of a Marmite game. Marmite being, for Americans, a condiment that you can put on stuff that people. There is no such thing as a mild opinion on Marmite. You either absolutely love it or you hate it and think it tastes like actual ass.
Mm-hmm.
And not, and
it tastes like crap, by the way.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing, right? I agree with you, but Tom might be a Marmite lover.
I like Marmite. Yeah, it's nice.
See, I knew it. I knew Tom would be a person who likes Marmite. and they even lean into it in the marketing campaign. Anyway, Skyward Sword is like that. You either love it or you hate it. So I know people in the games press who are like 10 out of 10. It's the best 3D Zelda apart from Breath of the Wild. And I'm like, these people need to go and have their head checked for a concussion or something because this game is not that good. And make no mistake, it's still not that good. It's, in my opinion, one of the weakest of the 3D Zeldas. But the HD remaster does just enough tweaks and adjustments to the elements of the game that were a little bit painful in terms of the game being quite slow and other elements of that kin, that it takes the edge off and allows you to enjoy the stuff about the game that is good a lot more. And so, for me, Skyward Sword has gone from like a 5 or a 6 out of 10 to a 7 or an 8 out of 10. For some people who gave it 10 in the first place, they must think it's the greatest game of all time now, I assume. Because if you gave it a 10 with how much was wrong with it before, like I say, I want you to have an MRI just to make sure you're safe. But it's interesting. What's interesting especially is looking at this game now, in hindsight, now we've got Breath of the Wild, you can see the beginnings of some of the ideas of Breath of the Wild being teased out from it. And yeah, it's a good remaster. I do think it's one of the weaker 3D Zeldas. I think it's a relic of that motion control age, where obviously the game was built around the motion control, around swinging the sword. It's still better, I think, if you play it with motion controls. The control method they've implemented is serviceable, but not great. And so that's sort of the dilemma, right? Skyward Sword is it's never going to not have those issues, and if you love the sword stuff, then you'll like it a lot more than I do. I always feel like the sword stuff it's a good idea on paper, but the execution was never quite there. It still isn't quite there. But like I say, the flip side is it's got some of the best dungeon design in the series, stuff like that. The thing I'll be interested to see from you, Dorrani, is if you've only ever played Breath of the Wild, this is going to be your first Zelda with the traditional Zelda structure. And even then, actually, Skyward is beginning, and like I said, it's teasing ideas for Breath of the Wild. It's beginning to move away from that traditional structure a little bit. So, like, typically a Zelda game has, I would say, between 8 and 12 dungeons, typically, 2D and 3D. Breath of the Wild, obviously, has 4, and then lots of little mini dungeons. And Skyward Sword has a handful, but you sort of return to them and return to areas, and so it'll be interesting to see what you think of the traditional Zelda structure. The game I would really be interested to see you play would be like Ocarina, probably, or Twilight Princess. Even though I don't like Twilight Princess massively, it's still that is pure traditional 3D Zelda. But yeah,
they'll remaster
Skyward
them soon.
Sword. I would think so. Well, they did. I think Wind Waker and Twilight Princess are a given because they did the Wii U versions, and because it was on a platform that nobody bought, they've got them sitting there, and most people haven't bought them. In fact, I'm really surprised they haven't done them this year for the 35th anniversary. Mm-hmm. But I think those are inevitable. The big question is, do they remaster Ocarina and Majora's Mask, which obviously came out on 3DS? Like, could they get those versions to a place where you could release them on Switch and they wouldn't look really rough?
Well, they look at what they did with Mario, right? They literally just like this Mario 64 was just
yeah.
let's just put the ROM on
I hope
a Switch cartridge.
But this is the thing, and Mario 64, another version of that game, does not exist. I think if you re-release Ocarina of Time on Switch and you re-release the original rather than the 3DS version, which has loads of quality of life improvements and is, as much as I love the N64 original, is just generally a little bit better. And the same for Majora as well. I think you're a clown, basically. So hopefully they don't do that. Yeah.
Nah, I will. I've always wanted to go back. I really want to do some retro gaming soon, just to see. Sometimes some conversations I feel a little bit left out of, mainly like Zelda, Final Fantasy. Those games, I'm always like, because those fans of those games are so vocal. I don't think I've seen and Metal Gear Solid as well. Those fans won't stop ranting and raving about it. So I do want to go back. I just missed them. I just missed that train when it was about. I don't feel bad for it, but I would like to experience it. Zelda's awesome. Make sure you enter the competition, guys. Make sure you enter the competition. I'm just going to hit the marker there. So is that what you've been playing all week then, Alex? Let's segue into that. Is that what you've been on all week?
Yeah, mostly. It's been a whole lot of Zelda, a little bit of Pokemon Go, because I've been trying to tidy stuff off before the anniversary event ends. I played a little bit of Sniper Elite VR, which I haven't played that much, but I've been playing it on Oculus Quest 2. Feels pretty good. It's one of those, we're getting more and more of these competent little VR versions of existing games, which I like.
Yeah.
Been playing a little bit more of Great Ace Attorney, which... I can't say an enormous amount about until reviews are allowed, but it's an Ace Attorney game, you guys. For good or for ill.
I feel like you didn't get the response you wanted there. Yay, Great Ace Attorney, yay!
No. I mean, it depends on if that's what you're into. I love those games. I love the attitude and stuff of them. But yeah, it's been a pretty Zelda-focused week, and focused on a lot of other things. Like, I'm having a few days off here, so I've been queuing up things that I'm gonna play and experience during the days off. And also, I've just got we're having, as you guys know, we're having work done on the house, so just the house is in pieces, and I'm constantly having to make cups of tea for builders and things like that. So. Yeah.
Do you when you speak to the builders, do they ask about, because you've got loads of gaming stuff in your house, like the arcade machines and stuff, like what do they say when you speak to them and say, oh yeah, you work in the games media?
Hey, it all depends on their age, right? Like, some of them are in their 50s and 60s and are just bewildered by it, and other ones are like, whoa! So it depends, but yeah, inevitably they do. I mean, they're not really in the house at the minute. They're sort of out to the side of the house.
Yeah.
But they have caught a glimpse of arcade machines and stuff and said, what is that?
I bet you can't wait. What is that? You're like, well there, good friend. Let me tell you about this arcade machine.
not so much at the minute. I'm stressing because I've got to move them. And it's quite difficult, as it turns out, to move 150 kilograms of arcade machine.
I can imagine. Do you have one of those things, those like trolleys, like where you like?
It's too big. It's too big for one of them. It's too big for one of them. So, that is a task that I've got to think about, because that's probably going to have to happen next week. But I'm waiting for
store these things, man.
I'm waiting for the father-in-law to get back off holiday, and then I'm going to call him and say, "You've got to get round here, and we're going to break our backs." So yeah,
that's what you've been doing, Tom. What have you been up to?
Nothing. I was just trying to think. No, nothing. Absolutely nothing. All I've done is continued my quest to get points on Xbox Game Rewards, or it's called Game Pass Rewards. So I've had on Yakuza Like a Dragon for about 2 minutes. So I played that via the cloud as well, because I wanted to get it done quick. So it wasn't the best experience. So I ran through a street, had a fight, and that was all I needed to do. And that was fine for what it was. I did one turn-based fight. so that was
And
good.
that was the end of it.
I had on Rainbow Six for about 2 matches, I think.
Yeah.
Again, Cloud. That was actually quite good, actually, on the Cloud. That worked pretty well. But I only played solo, shot some, I assume, terrorists. I don't
Yeah.
know. And then what else have I done? I did. There was another one that was like, I think it's For Honor. Yeah, For Honor from Ubisoft. And that, oh my god, I'm not sure if you ever gone back to a game a long time after you played it last, and they've completely gone overboard with the stuff going on. Like Gears, I played Gears recently, and oh my god, when you log into that game, and you get the menu, and it's like, what is going on? There's stuff all over the place.
Yeah.
You don't know what you're doing. For Honor, I had pop-ups for about 2 minutes telling me I'd unlock this, I'd unlock that. This is a season that's happened. I've got this character. I've got this.
Yeah.
I've got so many points. I've got some coins. I've got all this stuff. I just wanted to play a game. And that happens a lot now. Like Gears was the first thing I remember seeing Gears 5, where I played it at launch and it was fine. I played it quite a bit. And then I logged back in for the free, or the Game Pass, on the free update that was it Hivebusters, which is really good add-on. And suddenly that game is like proper service. It's got stuff, seasons. There's stuff everywhere. There's like, do this, do that. Have you seen this? Get this character skin. And it's like, that's fine if you're playing it all the time. But when you're jumping back in, you're like, what's happened to this game?
Yeah.
It's a little bit daunting. I can't imagine anyone turning on For Honor today and going, this is welcoming, because it really isn't. It's just an overwhelming amount of stuff being thrown at you. And it took forever to get into a game because I had to wade through all this info about various things they've added in the last, well, probably 4 years has that game been out? It's been out for a while now. Because I reviewed that at launch, and it was a good game. And Ubisoft are good. They constantly update stuff, right? That's been supported for a long time, like most of their games are. But if you come into it now, like, and Rainbow Six as well, like, it's so, like, just knowing what to do is somewhat. And I play games professionally for a living, so like I should be good at these things. And it's like, what is going on?
I think that's what happens with live service games. Alex, I know you had something to say there, so go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, if you boot Street Fighter 5 now, it's so, on a fresh install, it's so stupid. It's so dumb because it puts you in the tutorial, which it always used to do, fine. But then when you hit the main menu, it flashes up all the update screens that would have appeared for people who were playing the game. And I think I counted last time, and I think it was like there's 15 of them. So it comes up and it's like, here's all arcade mode, which wasn't in the original game. Here's how seasons work, which were in the original game. Here's how this, here's how that, and it's just like, oh my god. However, for me, it's just like, as someone who's played loads of that game, I just keep pressing the B button and dismissing them all. But as someone who is coming to that game new, you boot that and you're like, this is the least user-friendly thing ever. It wants me to read like 5,000 words of explanations of what all these features are. Like, no, thank you. So yeah, that was what came to mind the second Tom mentioned that sort of stuff. I was like, man, it sucks.
I think they need to have like a here's what you missed button. It's like, do you want to view this or no? And then go from there. But I will say, like, For Honor and Gears of War, because I know the game well, it launched, had a good like first week, and then everyone, so Gears is like multiplayer. That's where all the focus always goes, is straight to the multiplayer. That's how they support it. And it was horrendous. It was horrendous when it first launched, and they had so much community backlash. Fix the Nasher. Lancers are too OP. Like people are getting lanced across the map. So weapons that are iconic. Yeah, the Nasher in Gears of War is one of the most iconic guns, and it felt horrible compared to the games before it. So they've had to do so much things to change the game, to change the balance, and then because of the way it launched on Xbox Game Pass, the microtransactions and the cosmetics, the systems that they implemented for people to buy them were horrendous. Everything was, all of the nice things were pay to win. Like all of the skins took ages to buy. So you've got 4 games before it, all of the characters, all of these assets, that all they have to do, I say this so reductively because it's probably not all they have to do, I'm not a game dev, but bring the assets from the previous games, from like the beloved characters, into the new game, and so many characters were missing, and they had Terminator in the game, and
it depends. It depends, though, right? Because it depends on what you're doing with the engine and all that sort of stuff. Like, it's not always that easy, and also there's balance considerations and license considerations if you're dealing with stuff that you don't own and all that stuff. But I get you. I mean, and I think. But I just think we need to find better ways of introducing content. When a game is constantly growing in content, we need to find better ways to introduce new players. Because otherwise you just come in and it's just...
Yeah. I say that to say they had to, because of all of the backlash, they had to rework the whole system. So when you opened it, Tom, it looks nothing like it did on the release, because they were forced to. They had no other option, or everyone in the community would have left them if they didn't change everything up. Like, it's bad for you and me who might go back to it and think, oh, okay, I just want to play Gears. But to the players who continue playing it, they're probably like, oh my god, like when they probably played the patch the day it came out and probably loved it. But yeah, overall agreed that the returning player experience in live service games could 100% use some sort of overhaul or looking at. Definitely, we put that one into the gaming sphere and hope that someone answers the prayer somewhere. No, but how much money have you made from the Xbox rewards thing now this week?
I don't know what
I've got. If you saw me looking off screen, that's because when Tom mentioned it, I was like, I should check how many points I've got. So
how much do you have?
I've got about 90,000 at the moment, which is worth, I don't know, it's probably about 80 quid.
Oh,
wow!
Depends how you redeem them, but I've spent a bit. Like I spent a load on an Xbox. My Series X was a lot of that was paid for with those points I built up over years, and my son's used some because he does some of the stuff, so he gets a share now and again. He bought the season pass for Immortals Phoenix Rising because he loves that. That's if you're into Zelda, give that a look as well.
Yes.
But yeah, that's so yeah. I've built up a fair few. I don't know what I'm saving up for now. Like,
I think that is. How long has that system been around? The reward system.
It's been around for a while. They change it up now and again. They added a lot when Game Pass. They had all the Game Pass reward stuff. Obviously, when Game Pass launched a bit after that, so you've got the normal rewards, which is an app on the Xbox and on PC. There's a website, and then the Game Pass stuff is do things in Game Pass games, and they add new ones every week and month, so you can work through those as well. And like I said, they are good ways of getting you into some of these games. Like, nothing's really stuck with me, but I did stick, like I said before, Descenders I tried because of this thing, and I play that probably a couple of times a week now. It's just a good fun game to play here and there. But yeah, it's like, clearly they're trying to push people to play stuff, but it works. So, and I get stuff out of it, I'm happy.
Yeah, I think that is amazing how you said you purchased your console or a part of your console with points from playing the previous console or just being on the Xbox platform. I think that is amazing because another thing that blew my mind of recent, my friends who love World of Warcraft, you can the gold that you earn in World of Warcraft, you can use that to buy other things on the Battle.net client, or if you want game time, of course you have to pay monthly for World of Warcraft. You can use the in-game currency and rewards to just buy more time to play the game. I think systems like that are so intuitive. That's a loop that I think is crazy for player retention. I think that's awesome.
It keeps people in that, like, on the platform, right? Like, I mainly play on Xbox because I've got all this extra stuff, and my son's like, does PlayStation not have this? And I'm like, well, those trophies you saw when you played Ratchet, that is it. And he's like, he knows he's not getting any for that, so he's not that bothered.
Do you use Bing to search, Tom? Because I know you get.
Yeah,
wow.
I do. But
you have been sucked into the ecosystem.
No, but I use it. I use it in a very. I don't use it I don't use it to normal search. I'm not that weird, but I do have like 2 minutes a day on my phone. Like, I've got a system where if you're doing this, do a search, go to videos on your mobile, and you can just click the tabs at the top really quickly, and you can do all your searches for points in a couple of minutes. There you go. It's a tip for you. Some people have got scripts set up, I think, so they do like searches that way.
Yeah.
But I'm not quite at that level yet. I probably should be, but no, I just
have you got a Tesco Club card, Tom?
Obviously.
I would like to know how many points are on there, because it seems like you.
I'm all about the nectar points, me. I'm all about the nectar points. I only fill up my car at SO because SO give you nectar points.
This is how this is how people live these days, Dorrani. You've got to get with it. Get the most out of everything you can do. I've got points on my credit card. Use that to get money at like shops and stuff. You've got to get the cash back on everything.
I've only just started saving, me personally. So I think the next step is to get the Nectar card and Tesco Club card. Sorry.
You reach a certain point. You reach a certain point in your life when you literally have a card for everywhere you shop. I've literally got a card for the golf shop here. What else have I got? What else can I lay hands on? I've got. This is how it works, man.
I'm not trying to get old. That's what.
You know what's surprising? There's very few cards in my actual wallet because nowadays it's all on apps.
Yes, yes.
The only other card I've got is my Lego card for the Lego shop.
So you're saying this so nonchalantly, but I feel like there's. Why do you have so many memberships and cards?
Because you get free shit, man. You get money off.
Is this what happens when this is what you live for as you get older?
Yeah.
It's like that feeling when you go into Costa and you're like, no, I'll pay for that with my points, thank you very much.
Oh, that is true. Oh, saying that, do you know, I think it's Starbucks. You know Starbucks' app, of course, same way you can put money on there and people give you gift cards and yada, yada, yada. Apparently, as a whole, everyone on the app has like 2 billion on the rewards card app, unspent. Like Starbucks.
Well, that's why they do it, because the majority forget.
Yeah.
I'll give it. Look, you want to get into the nerd stuff. The reason I love Nectar is because every year Sainsbury's do a thing called the double up, where your points are worth twice as much for just 1 week.
Ooh.
So you have to go into the store in that week, but it's right before Christmas. So if over the year, through petrol and through food shopping and bits and bobs, and you can get points from Argos and places like that too.
Yeah.
If I accrue 60 quid's worth of points, I can go into Sainsbury's and have a £120 shop for nothing. So then I buy all the booze for Christmas and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
you guys are thinking so far ahead. You're playing 3D chess. I'm here playing checkers still, and you guys are playing 3D chess of life. Alex, how many points do you have on your? I can't
believe this is a conversation we've had.
Yeah. How many points do you have on your Xbox rewards?
Like 10,000, and that's from never like using it, basically. Like, obviously I've accrued points naturally through occasionally going to Bing. Like, sometimes in this job, right, you go to Bing to check. Nobody really cares about Bing, but you go to Bing to check what the search situation looks like on Bing for websites and stuff like that. And obviously I'm booting Game Pass games and stuff, so I'm picking up rewards that way. But I've got let's see. I've got like.
So is it 1,000? Is a pound? Yeah, is that what we're saying?
Sort of. It's not quite that good, but yeah.
Yeah, I've got like 15,000.
Okay, decent.
So you could probably get a month of Game Pass Ultimate for that. There you go.
Yeah, I definitely can. I was looking. I could get like £10 of Xbox Live credit as well. So hey, it's better than nothing, right? Better than teeth. I should probably start paying attention to it. I don't think I'm going to start doing my daily Bing searches like Tom does, but I might
set up the script.
Yeah.
Set up the script. That is when Tom says he's not been playing anything but collecting points, and we have a 10-minute discussion on it. Nah, that is awesome. What did I want to say? There hasn't really been much going on. You guys will have to fill me in. I know that Steam have released a handheld, but is that all that's happened?
That's the big news. That's the big news of the week, I would say. Not much else has really happened. Like, most of the other stuff that's happened is actually getting emails inviting us to things that we can't talk about for a couple of weeks. Yeah, so, following hot on the heels of the Switch OLED announcement, Valve is doing a handheld called Steam Deck. it is basically a big Switch. I think people are a bit confused as to how large it is. Like, I saw a comparison on Twitter that was like, it's 2 Vitas wide. So it's quite wide. And basically, it's a handheld PC. The specs are actually really good. So, in raw terms, I saw Durrani, who's the guy who does a lot of the he's the guy who famously patched Dark Souls to fix it and stuff like that. He's a very clever dude, and a lot of game developers have since hired him to do that sort of stuff. Anyway, he's basically said, in raw performance, the GPU is probably about the same as a base PS4, but it's a newer architecture, it's a better architecture. And also the key thing is, because of the screen, it's got like a 7-inch screen, something like that, it only needs to be 1280 by 800 in resolution. So it's not targeting 4K or anything like that. So when you're using a resolution that small, it means that in raw power, to put it in Durrani's words, to quote him in a forum post, GPU performance per pixel, it's like the same as an Xbox Series X when it's targeting 4K.
Jesus. That's impressive.
And the CPU is basically half of an Xbox Series X or PS5. It's got 16 gig of RAM, so that's 4 times the amount of RAM as on the Switch, and the same as the PS5. It seems to be really, really powerful. And yeah, it's fascinating. It looks good and interesting. I think
3 different models as well, right?
3 different models, but they are ostensibly all the same broadly.
Storage.
The primary difference is storage, and also the top model has like a better scratch-resistant screen or whatever, and comes with a carry case, things like that. But yeah, I think it looks really good. It runs on Linux, and so it can run Steam OS games, basically. So when you go into Steam, if you think of the name of a game, so if I click, I don't know, if I think of Evil Genius 2, which is probably one of my contenders for Game of the Year, if I go into Steam and press that, it will say on the page if it supports Steam OS or not. So it doesn't look like Evil Genius 2 does yet. So it can only play stuff that's in Steam OS. However, the interesting thing is, it is just a high-power mobile PC. So if you wanted to uninstall everything and put Windows on it, you could. If you wanted to put Epic Game Store on it, you could. If you wanted to put GOG on it, GOG Galaxy, you could. Obviously, some of these things you'd only be able to do by uninstalling SteamOS and installing Windows. But if you're Epic or GOG or whoever, you're hopefully looking at this and going, we should have a Steam OS version of our launcher.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm really interested. The orders go live. Well, you can reserve. You don't have to pay the full cost. I think you have to pay $5. But you can reserve from tonight. And then down the line, you'll have to pay for it. They're saying it's going to start shipping in December. I will order one tonight. I'm convinced enough to give it a go. Put it that way.
Yeah.
Like I'm on board. I like the idea. And it's got a dock as well, so you can plug it into the dock, plug a keyboard and mouse in, and plug it into a monitor, and it's a PC.
Yeah, that looks
so
pretty cool.
it's and as somebody who has had a small factor PC that I can move around for a while, I look at this and I'm like, maybe I no longer need to have a small factor PC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, Samsung phones have Samsung decks. It's like but in gaming form now.
Yeah,
I think that's pretty awesome. What was I going to say? What sort of shelf life do you think this is going to have? Do you think it's going to sell well?
No. I don't think it will sell well. It'll sell okay to the audience that is keen. Like, there are lots of people like Alex, right, who are like, they like new. That's not an insult, but that kind of like very tech, interested in new stuff. And I'd be like that if I had the money. I'd be well up for this. But like, I imagine it'd be the case of they'll see how this goes, and then they'll just incrementally put out newer spec ones and stuff as technology improves. But I think it looks good. I think my one concern is the storage, particularly on that lower model. I know you can add on SD cards and stuff, but it comes with 64 gig or something, which is like that is not for unless you're going
There's
to do
two games, really.
if you're on it, and if you're looking at anything like big AAA, which are like 50 gig plus each, you're struggling there. But I mean, if it could be like we talked, obviously you mentioned that you could install other stuff on it. Like if we can get Game Pass on this, something like that, I'd be more interested in that, because what xCloud is a nice thing for mobiles, I'm not sold on it as a real good way to play those games long term, other than dropping it out. If this could be a good way to play Game Pass PC stuff, that is suddenly more appealing, because then you don't have the extra cost of buying the games on top. But yeah, like as a device, it looks cool. I'll be well up for it if I had the spare money rolling around my bank account. But yeah, like I think it's a thing that like people have said, oh, they did Steam machines and it was a complete failure and a flop and stuff. But this feels that never felt like it was a thing that people really wanted, because you either had a console or you had a PC, and this was just like basically just a PC squashed into a box. And it's like you could already do that if you really wanted it. This isn't something you can really do unless you're massively hobbyistic and build stuff. Like this is a thing that you really have to buy custom made from. Like this is a thing that you couldn't get yourself otherwise, and there is going to be an audience for it. It's expensive if you look at it from like pure like this costs £400-500, but you look at how much a Switch OLED is, and that's like 310, is it, or something? And that is like, if you're looking pure like what can you play on this thing, what do my games look like, this will destroy a Switch OLED in terms of what you can put on it.
And you know, it's about the same for the high end model. It's about the same price as the next gen consoles, right? Like a little bit more. The thing that I think is interesting is this, regardless, because Valve has a history, right? A bit like Google, they have a history of, which Gabe would hate that being compared to Google, but they have a history of canning stuff, Steam controller, Steam Link, stuff like that. You know, selling the Steam Link on the Steam sale for like £2 to get rid of the inventory, etc., etc. And loads of people joked yesterday, "This looks great. I'll buy it for £100 when they're liquidating them in 5 years." And maybe, but the thing that I find interesting about this is, I think if Valve put the infrastructure there and sort of set the parameters, this could be a product category. And then at that point, you've got Razer coming out with one of these, Logitech coming out with one of these, you know, Alienware coming out with one of these. And you could have a really hot product category. And actually, the thing is, this could replace gaming laptops. It's like, you know, I've got like, I bought in Amazon Prime Day, like a Razer Chroma or whatever it's called. I don't know. Yeah. Razer Blade, I think it's called.
Razer Blade, yeah.
It's a laptop with a 3070 in it. And it was hideously expensive. But actually, the laptop's useful because I can work on it. I can do other stuff. If I ever need to help you with video, Dorrani, or anything like that, I can do it. If I go to E3 next year or something and I need to crunch some video, send it back to you, that laptop's going to be invaluable. However, if we're just talking about playing games, this thing is half the price of that, and actually might be as good, as long as I'm not planning to plug it into a screen, at which point you lose the advantage of the small screen. On a small screen, it's going to look like ultra settings incredible, you would think, with the power that it's got. It's just obviously if you blow it up, then you're dropping down to medium settings and you're starting to look, you know. And so I think that's the other thing. It's like, this is maybe a complementary thing. If you're a PC gamer who's been thinking about buying a Switch for gaming on the go, but you know, aren't that attracted to the Nintendo first-party games, then maybe this is now the answer. Is it the answer for your sole access to PC games? Maybe not. But then again, on the flip side, if you're a console gamer and you just want something to be able to play Command & Conquer on or whatever, games that just don't come to console, maybe this is the cheapest way to do it now. And you buy a keyboard and mouse, plug it into your TV, plug it onto a monitor or whatever, and away you go.
I feel like there's I can't see who this is for, you know, like
he's
in
right
my
there.
head.
He's right. You can see him. If you
I
look
can see
in the
him.
window,
I can see him right there. I can see Alex right there. But Alex is an exception in this
I'm
case.
into this stuff. I'm into this stuff.
You know what I mean?
I do think, mate, I think when they open pre-orders today, they'll be gone inside an hour. And I don't think they'll be doing a small amount of them either. I think they will be having a lot of them available.
Yeah. So you said it's a new product category. So do you not think that the Switch and the Steam Deck are not in direct competition here, or?
Well, they are and they aren't. But what I mean by new product category is because it's not a console; it's a PC, and the difference between a PC and a console is it's a relatively open ecosystem. So anyone can potentially make one of these now and hook into the software and the version of SteamOS that Valve has built to power this. If game developers start building hardware profiles into games for this, then Valve obviously that will be shared another because so if you have a Switch, it's the Nintendo Switch. Any Switch you ever buy is going to come from Nintendo. Maybe in 25 years, some company in Brazil or somewhere will be making, an off-brand Switch the same way people are still making off-brand Mega Drives, right? But broadly speaking, if you buy a Switch, it's a Nintendo Switch. What I mean by this could be a new product category is this is a category that could open up to all of the PC hardware manufacturers. And I'm not saying this is an entirely new product category because companies like Nvidia have had a bash at this sort of thing before. The Nvidia Shield, which is now a lineup of TV set-top boxes, which in my opinion is the best TV set-top box available. That began life as like a weird handheld PC thing. So this stuff has been done before, but this just looks better pitched in terms of price, in terms of what it can do, in terms of how it's focused. It definitely, to me, feels like a way smarter investment of Valve's abilities than the Steam boxes. And also, Valve is coming pretty hot off having the best VR headset on the market. And the best controllers, VR controllers specifically on the market. So maybe this is it. Yeah.
Have they mentioned hardware profiles for the games and stuff? Like, are we going to get like native versions for this or not?
So this is how it leaked, because obviously word of this leaked about 2 months ago. And it was because in the Steam backend, a hardware profile for something called a Steam Deck appeared. And people were like, what's this? So inevitably there will be, but also they're PC games. So the theory is, and Valve said this in some of the exclusive IGN coverage, they had some pretty good interviews. I recommend you watch them. And they were saying like, we're going to have games that are built and you install them and you just press play and they're ready to go. But they said the beauty of this and what sets it apart from, a Switch or anything else is that it's still a PC. So you've got that option of uninstalling SteamOS and installing Windows, but also you've got the option of installing games that aren't compatible and installing things that can make them work. You've got the option of opening up a web browser and downloading mods to make stuff work. And so the idea is, hopefully, you'll be able to play pretty much anything on it.
Did Valve say that? Like, sorry, about the uninstalling? Are they okay with just?
Yeah, Valve don't care because Valve are they believe in open. That's what that company's about.
Yeah.
I was just wondering about. Obviously, it's a small screen. PC games are usually played on monitors right in front of your face or TVs. Yeah. Like, have they said anything about like user interfaces and like?
I think that's going to be down to the dev, right? And I think a lot of stuff you're not going to have that problem. Because a lot of stuff is on console anyway, and the UI is designed console first. If you're going to go and play Assassin's Creed on this, well, they showed Control running on it, right? It looks fine. The issue will be stuff like, if you play Civilization on it, you're probably going to need a magnifying glass. Yes. And I think that's when the question goes back to Firaxis. And if there's an install base for this, and if there's multiple devices coming out as well from other companies, and they're like, this is a category we have to support, at that point, you hopefully get a patch which puts in different UI options.
Or someone just does a mod, I guess, like you said. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like it's going into a grey area. People like you, as I said, Alex, it's for specific people. I think that the broader gaming audience, it won't be adopted that fast. I don't think. I'm not sure. As I said, I could be wrong. If you guys think that it's going to sell well, definitely. I think
it's definitely a hardcore gaming product, but that doesn't mean it's a niche product. Is what I'd say.
Yeah, I agree with that statement. I just don't know. I think the Switch takes up that handheld slot. I have my PC for when I'm trying to game and do. Oh my god, he's one shot. That sort of vibe, and I've got my consoles when I want to relax and sit back, but I still want to be engaged. And then when I'm like super relaxed, like the Switch, I know console and Switch, like but yeah, I don't know. I just don't see where it's going to go for me personally. So hopefully it sells well. I never want anything game related to do poorly. I hope it does sell well, to be honest. And do you think it looks good, like aesthetically? Like, do you think it looks good?
I think it looks fine. The controls don't look great, but also everyone that has played it, the guys at IGN that have played it and stuff like that, all say it's much more comfortable than it looks. So I will reserve judgment, because also it's things like, I thought the PSP looked comfortable and I used to get mad cramps with it. Clearly what you see is not necessarily what you get. And actually looking at the Switch, I wouldn't have thought the Switch was that comfortable. I remember seeing these for the first time and going like, I remember thinking, I'm not going to be able to touch those buttons without accidentally knocking that stick, and it doesn't happen. So hopefully they're okay. You would think they've poured millions into R&D, they would get the button layout right.
It reminds me, unfortunately, a little bit of a Barcode Battler. Not sure if anyone remembers that.
Wow.
I feel like when you say anyone, you mean me.
Are you ready? Are you ready for another history lesson?
What's it called? What's it? Say it again.
The Barcode Battler, right? So you're not going to believe what this is. So many years ago, I went on holiday to a holiday camp. I don't know what it was, like a haven or something, right? And it was bad weather. So I think my mum was like, get them something. So we're in a caravan. We're going to be in this caravan for a long time. This thing, I think it had probably already dropped in price because of how bad it was. Essentially, it was a little handheld games console, but it was all built around the fact that you scanned barcodes. And barcodes...
What?
Yeah, barcodes essentially
Hold
gave you...
Hold on. Wait for Alex to come back.
I can't believe I had to duck for the Barcode Battler discussion. I'm getting...
We stopped for you. We stopped for you. Alex, return. So sorry, Tom. Just go back to it a little bit and then go ahead.
Right, so yeah, this thing is essentially a handheld like games console. My memory of it's a bit vague, but I think it had a screen. It was like black. It looked a bit like an Atari Lynx kind of thing. And it was all built around this fact that you scanned barcodes. So anything had a barcode. If you went to any product had a barcode on it, you could scan it, and it would give you. It was almost like having a playing card in a card battling game. So the barcode generated a thing that you would use to battle or whatever it was at the time. I really can't remember what the game was, but I think it was battling. And me and my brother used to play. So we'd get like box of cereal, scan it, and that gave you a thing, and like some beans, scan it, and you get another thing in this game.
Imagine a Pokemon game where every time where you could scan a barcode and it would generate a random Pokemon. That's what it is.
Yeah. So we had all these like cutouts of barcodes all over the place because we didn't want to get rid of them all. But yeah, that was it. I mean, it was such a, I guess I'm going to say like early 90s piece of rubbish. But as a kid, you're like, whoa, barcodes scan them, and it's like makes you play this game, and it seems so cool. It wasn't. It was super naff looking back at it. But long story short, that is what in my mind is what this thing looks like: a small screen, big casing around it. Which is, I think that's the thing about this the Steam Deck is that clearly, I'm sure they'd have loved to get that housing smaller because it looks a bit chunky around the edge, right? You've got the screen. Yeah. Look at the Switch OLED, which obviously is a less powerful device, and you've got that's to the edges of the device more or less. It looks cool. You've got this big that screen seems bigger because it's covering the whole of the unit. Whereas this, it's almost like you get the little less than mod, like the sat navs on the screens in cars from like 7 years ago. You've got this little window in the middle of the dashboard, and it's like that's all your tech. And then now you've got this big 10-inch screen at the front of a car. It's like it's similar to that. It doesn't quite sell it as well because you've got all this stuff around it. But I assume if it goes well, future editions will have less of that sort of space around it, and it'll look a lot slicker. But yeah, it's not a Barcode Battle. I'm sure it'll be better than that.
I know. Did you know Tom, that in Japan you could connect the Barcode Battler to a Super Nintendo, and there were Super Nintendo games where you would use the Barcode Battler to scan things, and it would come on the SNES.
Wow.
So they were even, and if I recall correctly, there were even official Nintendo licensed Barcode Battler cards where you could get them with Mario and Zelda characters and stuff like that. So yeah,
that'd have been a lot better than what I did, I'm sure.
Then scanning beans,
I feel like there was something after this that done something similar. Correct me if I'm wrong. Was there not another game that you can scan barcodes and something happened?
Probably.
I feel like this is like the OG one, but I feel like there is. If someone knows, if someone's watching this and knows anything, let me know. Just type it in the comments. Thanks for the history lesson again, guys. Barcode Battler. You know what? When people speak to me now about games and history, I'm gonna be like, I've got something to tell you guys. Barcode Battler, Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles. All sorts of stuff. You guys are preparing me for industry events, so I don't seem like an idiot. So, I think that's about it. Really, is that it? That's it. Yeah, Steam Deck. I had something to talk about with the mobile games industry, but I'll save it for next week. We can have that discussion then. When Pokemon Unite, because it revolves around the games in mobile games industry. Yes. Pokemon Unite, but we'll speak about that next week. And I do want to talk about Resident Evil Infinite Darkness, but I haven't seen it yet. Have you seen it, Alex? I know Tom said he didn't.
No, I might watch it next week. I'm busy this weekend, but I might watch it next week.
Yeah, we're gonna watch that, and I'll watch it, and I'll come back with it. Monster Hunter released a new trailer, which looked so much better. We're not gonna speak about it yet. Next week as well, but yeah, that's about it, really, guys. Anything else? Anything else you want to just throw in there? Is that it?
No, go into the Zelda competition. Oh, and we mentioned it last week, but by the time that this goes out, the episode of the Top Gear thing that I'm in will be out. So go to the Top Gear Facebook page and watch me talk about Outrun, one of the greatest games of all time.
Yeah, that is it.
And we have the original car. Well, not the original car from Outrun, but we have that model of car, a real one from 1986. Like £200,000 worth of car in the studio. The car that inspired Outrun. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, go and check it out. Make sure you enter the Zelda competition as well. My name is Dorrani from VG247. The boys, Alex and Tom.
See ya.
See you guys later. Hey, thanks for watching this video. Consider subscribing if you enjoyed it. It's free and you can always unsubscribe at any time. Take a look at our other videos if you like. Also, check out VG247.com for around the clock gaming news and updates.